Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode. In this tutorial, we will be going over our usual time limit. In fact, this is the longest tutorial I've recorded to date. But there's still no BS, just AE, and I promise you will get a ton of tips, tricks, and shortcuts. This is going to be a great tutorial because we're going to be having some fun with one of my favorite After Effects tools, shape layers. We're going to create this fireworks display with each firework made on just one shape layer. We'll add some effects, layer expressions, a few expression controls, and we'll be using the taper stroke feature, which has only been available in After Effects since its 2020 release. I'm also going to show you how to really take advantage of the repeater by tweaking just a few settings and adding in some cool expressions. And the thing that's really awesome about this animation is that it can be saved as an animation preset. That's one of the advantages of creating these animations on just one shape layer. You can save it as an animation preset, and all of your transform properties, your effects, your expression controls, and your expressions, everything gets saved with it. So you can bring it back into another project with just a click of a button. This episode is packed full of secret tips, tricks, and shortcuts. So even if you don't have an immediate need for a fireworks display, I highly recommend that you stick around and check out this tutorial. Please like this video so I can take advantage of that ever-changing, ever-elusive YouTube algorithm. Share this video and my channel with your fellow motion graphic designers so that they can become After Effects rock stars just like us. And click the bell so that way you're notified every time I upload a new video. Remember to sign up for my Udemy course, The Power of Shape Layers. It's a comprehensive course that covers literally every aspect of shape layers, and it's guaranteed to make you a shape layer wizard. I've added a table of contents so that way you can go back and rewatch sections that you may find difficult. Like I said, we're going to be going way over our usual time limit, but it will be well worth it. Okay, there's a lot to get through, so let's dive right in. Okay, so let's go ahead and click this new composition icon. We're going to call this fireworks. And if you want your animation to look just like mine, just follow these settings. We're going to have a width and a height of 1200, frame rate 2997, and we're going to make this 10 seconds long. Let's just click OK. Let's go up to Layer, New. We're going to add in a shape layer, and we're going to call this fireworks. Okay, so before we hop into adding in all of our shapes and effects and things, I want to add in some expression controls that we're going to be using throughout this tutorial. So let's go up to Effect and add an expression control for color control. And I'm going to call this color 1. And then I'm just going to highlight that and duplicate it 4 times. So Control D, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we have 5 colors, and I'm going to make these colors all kind of warm. So I have like an orange, I have like a yellow, maybe make this red a little bit deeper. Maybe we'll make this another kind of yellowish kind of shade. And then this last color we'll make just like a deeper kind of orange. Okay, and so now with fireworks highlighted, let's add in a group. And we're going to call this lines. Control R to bring up your ruler here, and we're going to pull this out to the middle. You can actually hit your quotation marks to get your safe margins and make sure this is right there in the center. I'll fit this back to my composition. And within this lines layer, let's highlight lines, and we want to add in a path. And we're just going to draw a line like this, and then snap this line right to our guide there. Then let's add in a stroke, and we're going to increase this to about 20. Okay, now if we open up our stroke settings, we can change this butt cap to round cap and this miter join to round join. Okay, so now let's take our stroke color, and we're going to go ahead and pick whip up to color 1. Okay, and before we go any further, I want to add in a few more expression controls because I want to be able to control the overall look and feel of this animation. So with fireworks highlighted, so let's go back up to Effect and go to Expression Controls. We're going to add in a slider control. Okay, so now let's rename this to Stroke Width, and then just Control or Command D that. And we're going to rename this one to Circle Size, and then one more time, Control D, and we're going to call this Repeater Copies. And it will become very clear while we're adding in all of these expression controls later on, but suffice it to say, it will make your life a lot easier. Okay, so back to our animation, let's highlight lines and let's add in a trim paths, open that up, and on our very first frame, we want to put a keyframe for the end percentage and set it to 0. If you hold down Shift, page down, it jumps forward 10 frames. I'll zoom in here a little bit. Let's make that end percentage 100. At the same exact location, put a keyframe for start position at 0, shift page down, and increase start percentage up to 100. You can highlight all of that. Keyframe assistant, easy ease. So we're going to loop this, and so this is the look we have so far. We actually want the animation to go in the opposite direction. So if you click this right here, this is going to reverse your path direction. So now it goes from bottom to top. Now let's go ahead with contents highlighted, and we want to add another group, and we're going to call this lines 1. and let's pull this lines group inside of lines 1. And then with lines 1 highlighted, let's add in a repeater, and make sure you're adding in the repeater in the lines 1 group. Otherwise, this effect won't work. So click repeater. We're going to open that up. And so we need this to explode out in like a circular kind of animation. And so for copies, let's go ahead and pick whip up to our repeater copies. As you can see, our slider defaults to 0. So I'm just going to change that to like 6. And so now we have 6 copies, but we're not there yet. So let's change some more settings. Under the transform properties for repeater, we want to make our position 0, 0. And what makes this explode out in a circular way is the rotation of your repeater. So we're going to add an expression in for this. So if you alt click on rotation, type in 360 divided by, or your backslash, and then let's pick whip right here where it says copies. So now if we watch it, we see that this is the kind of animation we want, but we want it to animate up a little bit higher. And so the way we do that, let's close up our repeater, go back into our lines group and the transform properties for the lines. At the beginning of this animation, let's put a keyframe for position, go to the end of the trim pass animation. Let's just move this up. So now if we watch it back, that's what we're looking for right there. And I'm just going to click quotation marks to get rid of my safe margins, and then also click to get rid of my guides. And so the thing that's kind of cool about the way we've already set this up is that we can change the number of repeater copies. So say maybe we want 5, and it still retains that circular kind of animation. Let's open up our stroke here, and I want to grab my stroke width, and let's just pick whip that up to our expression control for stroke width. Again, it goes back down to 0, but see now you can control this from this expression control. So if we make it 10, you can make it 20, you can make it any value you want, and it will update automatically. So let's make this, we'll say 25. Okay, so that's our first burst. So let's close up that lines 1, and we're going to control D to duplicate that. So now we have lines 2. Okay, let's pull that underneath lines 1, and we're going to open that up, and let's open up our lines group. And under our stroke settings, we're going to pick whip this color up to color 2. So now we have 2 different colors. You can't see them because they're on top of each other. We can open up the transform properties of lines 2, which is right here. And under rotation, we're going to kind of turn that a little bit. So that way it's slightly offset. So now if you hit U to bring up all of your keyframes, we're going to grab the keyframes for the second animation, which are these right here, and page down 1, 2, 3, 4. Just move these down. So now we have something that looks kind of like that. And I also want to add in a slight rotation on these bursts. Let's open back up lines 1, and we're going to open up our transform properties for that. So this is the rotation for lines 1. Let's put a keyframe at the beginning of that animation, go forward to the end of the animation, and we're just going to go forward about, say, 20 degrees. So we kind of have this where it rotates slightly, as you can see. And we're going to do the same thing for lines 2. Open up our transform properties for rotation, and see we've already moved that to 25 degrees, and this animation actually starts here. So if we go forward to the end of this animation, 20 degrees is going to be 45. So that's what we have so far. And I know some of this can be a little bit confusing, so if you have any issues following along, you may want to go back and watch what we just did. Okay, so I'm going to do this one more time. So lines 2 highlighted, Control or Command D to duplicate it. Now we have lines 3. I'm going to move that to the bottom. Let's open this up, open up our lines group. Under our stroke settings, we're going to pick whip our color up to color 3. Now let's move forward a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on here. And we want to open up our transform properties for line 3. Here's our rotation right here. And we need this to be offset like our yellow lines are. So if you just put in a keyframe right here on this rotation, and then just click rotation so they're all highlighted, you can rotate this now and they will all rotate together. Now we get rid of that middle keyframe. Let's hit U to bring up our keyframes. As you can see, this can start to get a little bit confusing, but just remember that the first set of keyframes will be for this trim paths. So we want to move forward, page down, 1, 2, 3. So that's offset. So now we have something that looks like this. And you may be able to go down another frame or 2, just so that way it's offset. Okay, so that's our line animation. Now we need to add in those circles that you saw in the opening example. So content's highlighted. We're going to add in a group, and we're going to call this circle 1. Come back to the beginning of our animation here. With circle 1 highlighted, let's add in an ellipse, and we want to give that a fill. So open up our fill color, and now we're going to pick whip this up to color 4. With circle 1 highlighted, let's add in a repeater. Open up our repeater settings, and again, we want to pick whip our copies up to repeater copies. open up our transform properties for the repeater, and we want to make our position 0 on the X and Y values. So that way everything comes to the middle right here. And again, we want to alt click on rotation and type in 360 divided by, and then pick whip up to the number of copies. Okay, and now in order to animate this, we need to move our position of our ellipse. So let's open up our ellipse path 1 settings, and actually let's make this, we'll say 35 for now, and then put a keyframe for position under ellipse path, and then shift page down twice, 1, 2, so we go for 20 frames, and then let's just move this up. And while we're here, we can actually do this as well. Let's click on ellipse path 1 size, and we want to pick whip up to our circle size. And so I'm going to go down to 0 because that's what our default setting is, but let's make this 20. Actually, we can increase that even more. We'll say 35. So now if we watch it back, this is the kind of animation we have. So we still have some more work to do on these circles here. So actually, I'm going to hide our lines groups and just focus on our ellipse right here. So if we open up our circle 1 transform properties under rotation, we'll put a keyframe there and go forward, shift page down twice, 20 frames. And now let's move this forward maybe 35 degrees. So we have something kind of like that. Okay, and let's go back to the beginning of this animation and put a keyframe for opacity, set that to 0, page down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, move that up to 100%. And we come down to the end of the animation, put a keyframe, move that down to 0. And then page up to go in the opposite direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make that 100 degrees. So that way it kind of comes in, it fades in, and it fades right back out. So if we add all of this in and watch it back, we have something kind of like that, but we still need to offset this. So again, hit U to bring up our keyframes. Our circle keyframes are right here. And we want this to go on about 3 frames after our lines animation. So let's go to where lines 3 begins. Page down 1, 2, 3, and move our circle animations down. You bring this a little bit, and so we have something that looks kind of like this. We want to come back in a little bit more, so that way it's not quite so far behind. And see, we can even kind of animate this so it goes up a little bit higher. So our position of our ellipse maybe goes out like that. We just need to add in one more group. So let's close up all of this. We want to take our circle 1, duplicate that, so now we have circle 2. And we're going to open this back up. Under our fill settings, we're going to pick whip this color to color 5. Okay, and then so let's open up our repeater settings. And for this, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So for right now, we have 2 sets of circles. And again, let me hide these lines. And then I'm going to need to offset this so that way they're not on top of each other. So we'll go back to our rotation of this group. And remember, you can just put in a keyframe, click rotation so they're all highlighted, and slightly rotate it like that. Then we're going to open up our repeater transform properties. And if you remember, we have this expression 360 divided by, and then we pick whipped up to the number of copies. The reason why I wanted to pick whip here instead of up here from our expression control is because now we can adjust the number of circles that we want, and it should still retain that circular animation. So for example, we can put in minus, let's say 3. So that will give us 4 copies. And as we can see, these 4 copies pop in line automatically. Maybe you want to add 3. Well, we're still going to retain that circular animation. And that will only work if you pick whip the rotation of your repeater up to the repeater copies at this level. Let's turn these other layers back on. And so, see, I don't really want this circles 2 to go quite as high as the circles 1. So maybe we'll bring this down a little bit. And actually, instead of +3, I'm going to change this to -2. So that way we have a few less circles there. Okay, and so let's close this up and then hit U to bring up our keyframes. And again, we want to grab the keyframes for this last circle and bring it forward maybe 3 or 4 frames. So that way we get this effect right here. Okay, so now the thing that's really cool about this, so let's stop somewhere about in the middle. If you change these colors, these will update automatically. So whatever you change this to, these colors will start to update. So see, you have instant control over the look of how you want this to go. So I just want to back out of that so that way we have our original settings. Okay, so now I'm going to add in a trail. Controller Command K to bring up our project settings. And actually, let's increase our height. We'll say maybe to 2500. So I'm going to create a trail that starts off screen and kind of comes to the middle of our comp here, almost kind of like a firework is being set off. So open up our contents, highlight contents, and we're going to add in a new group. And we're going to call this trail. Within the trail group, we're going to add in a path, and just going to draw something like this, where it's kind of like a fireworks trail, but it's going to end in the middle of our composition. So something like that. Okay, and then we want to add in a stroke. Let's leave it white, and we're going to make it 10 pixels. So it looks something kind of like that. And then open up our stroke settings down here, and again, change our line cap to round cap, line join to round join. Now, this is a new feature in After Effects 2020. So if you don't have 2020, you're not going to have this ability. They added in this new option for taper. So you can open up taper and then just increase your start length to 100%. So that way it starts off really thin and then it gets really, really thick. And actually we can increase this a little bit more, maybe to 20 pixels so you can see it better. And then we need to add in a trim path so that way we can animate this trail. So highlight trail, add in a trim paths. And so we can put a keyframe for end at 0% at the beginning. Shift page down. So we go forward 10 frames and then just page down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that way we go forward 15 frames total. Increase end percentage to 100. Let's put a keyframe for start at 0 and go forward. We'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Increase that up to 100%. Let's highlight all of these. Right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. Then let's just pull these start percentages back so they kind of overlap a little bit. So that way it kind of comes in and disappears. Obviously, we want our explosion to start once the trail reaches the center of our comp. Click on this layer and hit U. And we want to grab all of these keyframes above the trail, which is all of these, and move the first keyframe to where the trail end percentage is. So see our end percentage right here on our trail is 100%. That's where we want the first explosion to occur. So I'm going to fit our composition into our viewer. And then if we watch it back, we get something that looks kind of like that, which is pretty cool. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see it better. So that's the basic effect there. We have this trail that goes up and then we have our firework explosion. Okay, so I want to add in some effects so that way this looks a little bit better. Click on fireworks, effects and presets, and I'm going to go ahead and just add in the effects we're going to be using, and then we'll tweak the settings as we go. So type in Turbulent to get Turbulent Displace. Double click that. We want to add in a fractal noise. I'm going to double click that. And then I'm just going to go up to Effect and then go to Stylize, and we're going to add in a glow. Okay, so now I'm going to start tweaking some of these settings so this looks the way we want it to look. Okay, so first we'll start off with Turbulent Displace. Let's change the amount to 20. We'll leave the size at 100. And then for evolution, we want to Alt click and we're going to add in a time expression. So we'll say time times 100. So here's our time expression right here, time times 100. Okay, and we can close up Turbulent Displace. Let's open up Fractal Noise, and we want to change our fractal type to cloudy, which is right here. Our noise type, let's change to linear. Let's open up our transform settings for fractal noise, and let's increase our scale up to 200. In order to get our color back, let's scroll down here, and under blending mode under fractal noise, change it from normal to overlay. So now we have our color back. We need to make some adjustments to our glow settings. So open up glow, and we'll just go straight down. We're going to change our glow threshold down to 0, our glow radius to 300, our glow intensity, we're going to make that 3. We're going to change our colors. We have color A and color B. Let's just make color B white. So color A and B are both white. Then go in here where it says glow colors and then click on that and change from original colors to A and B colors. And now I want to add an expression so we get that look as if this firework is popping. The way we do that is we're going to Alt click on glow intensity and we're going to type wiggle 53. So what this is saying is that this glow is going to animate 50 times per second at a value of 3. And if you notice, our intensity is 3. So this intensity can go anywhere between 0 and 6. So we get when we play it back, it's something kind of like this, where it looks like it's kind of popping. Change this to a glow setting maybe of 2, but then change your wiggle expression 52, because you want it to be the same value as your intensity. So now let's go to our project settings and let's create a new comp. So let's Control N, and we're going to call this Fireworks Display. And we're going to change our settings from 1200 to 1920 by 1080. So just a regular 1080p comp. And we'll leave this at 10 seconds and click OK. Okay, so now let's bring in our fireworks. And if you notice, we kind of have these edges here around our glow. If you continuously rasterize this, it will get rid of that. So make sure you continuously rasterize that. Click P and S to bring up your position and scale. Let's reduce this down to maybe 30%. We're going to make some duplicate copies and kind of just set these around here in various places, maybe 7 copies of it. Let's highlight all of these and hit S for scale, and maybe you want to kind of play with some of the settings of these so they're various sizes. Just get something that looks a little bit random maybe. Maybe we'll make this first one a little bit bigger, say like 45. Let's go back to the very beginning, and if you shift page down to get 10 frames, now Alt right bracket to make all the layers 10 frames long. If you right click, choose Keyframe Assistant and Sequence Layers. And this will stagger them by 10 frames because our layer length is only 10 frames. So let's click OK, and as you can see, they stagger forward. See, this goes from top to bottom. I'm going to undo that. And if you highlight them from bottom to top and do the same thing, they will offset from bottom to top. Sequence Layers works. It's kind of cool. I'm going to back out of that one more time. It actually goes in the order that you choose these layers. So say I'm just going to choose these in a random order. Right click, Keyframe Assistant, Sequence Layers, hit OK, and see they offset in the same way that I chose them. So I'm going to go from bottom to top. So I'm going to click layer 7, hold down shift up to layer 1, right click, Keyframe Assistant, Sequence Layers, click OK. And now just drag these back out so they fill the whole composition. So that way the animation will go all the way through. So if we kind of watch this, we can get a basic idea of how this is going to look. Okay, and there's some things we can do to make this even more interesting. Okay, so let's grab maybe just a few random layers. I'm going to grab these, right click, transform, flip horizontal. So that way some animate to the left, some animate to the right. You just have a little bit more variety. And then also to give these slightly different colors, say let's highlight this layer 6 here. Let's go up to Effect. We want to choose Channel, and we want to choose Shift Channels. And all you have to do is change these values. Take red from any value other than red. So we'll say take red, and actually let me solo this so you can kind of see what effect this is going to have. So see, this is our animation right here. I'll make this full. Zoom in there. So if you take red from, we'll say blue, take green from red, and then take blue from green. It just kind of changes the color a little bit and gives you some more variety. Maybe we'll solo this layer right here. So here we went blue, red, green. So this time, let's add in, go to Effect, add in the Shift Channels. We'll go green, blue, red. And so see, it just gives us slightly different colors. And then maybe I'll do one more. We'll do, say, like layer 2, go up to Effect, and Shift Channels was the last effect we used, so it's going to be at the very top of your effects list. Click that, and then we'll just take red from, we'll say blue, take green from red, and take blue from red. So now we have a different color there. So now if we watch this play back, we get something that looks kind of like a fireworks display. And now I still want to add in a few more things to kind of finish out the scene, so that way you know how I did this entire animation. Let's go up to Layer, New, Solid, and this can be any color. I'm going to bring that down underneath everything, and we want to go to Effect, Generate Gradient Ramp. Okay, so now let's choose this black color. We'll make it a deep blue, and then for our white color, just color pick that same blue, but then we're going to change that to something like almost black. So it's really, really deep blue. And then I want to change my linear ramp to radial ramp, and let me kind of pull out here a little bit, and then just move our start of ramp up a little bit. So that's our sky. Let's add in another layer on top of our sky layers. So layer, new, solid. And we want to make this layer white. And this is going to be, we'll rename this to stars. Click OK. Go over to our effects and presets, and let's type in star space burst. And you'll see the setting for CC Starburst. Double click that. And this is the effect we get. Let me make this full quality so you can see it better. And so now all we have to do is change some settings. So let's change our scatter to 250. Our speed 0, so that way the stars don't move. We'll change our size to 25. And so now we have a star field. Okay, and let's play that back to see the final animation. And now I want to show you something else that will save you a ton of time if you ever want to use this again. Let's go back into our fireworks pre-comp, and let's just close all of this stuff up. Okay, so now we have all of these expression controls for color control, for a stroke width and circle size, and all of these effects down here. If you highlight Contents, Effects, and Transform, make sure all 3 of those are highlighted. Go up to Animation, Save Animation Preset. You're gonna make sure you're in your Documents, Adobe, the version you're using. I'm using After Effects 2020, User Presets. I have this folder for 7-minute AE, and I'm going to call this Fireworks. Okay, and just click save. And this may take a few minutes to save depending on how fast your computer is, because it's trying to save a lot of information. Okay, and now let's just click on this fireworks layer and hit delete to get rid of it completely. Let's go back over to our effects and presets, and we're going to open up animation presets under user presets, 7-minute AE, and we have this fireworks. So you don't have to even add in a shape layer. Just double click this and it's going to add in the shape layer for you. And if you hit U, you can see it. All of your keyframes come in. If you look over here under your effects, all of your expression controls came in along with all of these other effects that we added. Everything comes in with the animation preset. And the thing to keep in mind is, let's get rid of that one more time. Since you have keyframes with this animation preset, it's going to drop the keyframes wherever your playhead is. So I have my playhead at the very beginning. If you double click, hit U, all of your keyframes start from that playhead. So here's our first keyframe down here. Well, if we get rid of that and say maybe our playhead is like at the 1 second mark. Now, if you double click on fireworks, hit U, you'll see your keyframe drops in at the 1 second mark. So that's one of the things to keep in mind whenever you're adding back in animation presets is that if you have keyframes, you want your playhead to be at the beginning of your timeline. All of your keyframes come in, all of your animations, everything that we've done, all that hard work is saved and everything is on one layer. And so now that you put all this hard work in and you've created this, you never have to go through all of these steps again. But you can very easily change the color settings and these will update automatically. You can also change the stroke width of your lines and the number of repeater copies for your lines and your circles, all from the slider controls we created in the effects control panel. And don't forget, if you want to make a fireworks display, just make a new comp. You want to offset these by about 10 frames and just kind of randomly change the settings, your position and scale settings, and you can have your own fireworks display. I hope this tutorial helped you out. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. And click the bell so that way you're notified every time I upload a new video. Please share this video and my channel with your fellow motion graphic designers so that they can become After Effects rock stars just like us. And I would love to hear what you learned from this episode. Sign up for my Udemy course, The Power of Shape Layers. It's a comprehensive course that covers literally every aspect of shape layers and is guaranteed to make you a shape layer wizard. The link to that course, as well as to the project files and the notes for this episode, are in the description below. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.